Love triangle involving married couple results in tragic end. In the quiet town of Belleville, amidst its picturesque landscapes and hidden shadows, lies a tale that shook its very foundations. Today, we delve into the haunting saga of the Everwood family, a story woven with secrets, betrayal, and a quest for redemption. Dive into the chilling details of the Everwood murders, the profound impact on those involved, and how the truth unraveled in the most unexpected ways. Be sure to subscribe and like for more stories that uncover the depths of human emotions and the strength of forgiveness in overcoming darkness. Join us as we explore the complexities of love and loss in the Everwood legacy. Amanda Everwood, with her flowing chestnut hair and striking blue eyes, stood out as a symbol of grace and creativity. Growing up in a home brimming with artistic passion, the air always tinged with the smell of paint, her life was a canvas from the start. Amanda inherited her artistic flair from her mother and her unwavering resolve from her father, making her own mark as a distinguished landscape painter. Her artwork was celebrated for its lively colors and the way it seemed to capture nature's essence. In a different realm, Richard Everwood was born into a family with a long history of legal professionals. The Everwoods were well known in the legal community, having produced a series of judges and lawyers. Richard, following in his family's footsteps, thrived in law school and quickly ascended the ladder at a top law firm in Belleville. His charisma, handsome features, and keen intellect made him a powerful lawyer and a sought-after bachelor. During their second year of college, Amanda and Richard crossed paths. She was the quintessential artist, spirited and spontaneous, while he was disciplined and methodical. Despite their differences, there was an instant connection, and they fell deeply in love. Their relationship flourished through late-night study breaks, art show openings, and scenic summer drives. After college, they got married in a grand wedding that became the talk of the town. They moved into a charming Victorian house that Amanda loved and filled with art, warmth, and music. The garden became her sanctuary, where she painted the lush flowers and changing seasons. Meanwhile, Richard was mostly at the office, immersed in his career. Their family grew with the arrival of their son, Ethan, who became Amanda's whole world. Life seemed idyllic with family activities, Amanda's art projects, and community involvement. Richard's hard work paid off when he became a partner at his firm, and the couple often attended high-profile social events, always in the spotlight. However, as time passed, Amanda sensed a shift in Richard. He started coming home later and was often out the door before dawn. This growing distance hinted at underlying tensions that were perhaps not visible to others. The man Amanda had married, once warm and loving, had become distant and distracted. She tried to brush off these changes, thinking they were just due to his stressful job. But deep down, Amanda felt uneasy, and her suspicion only grew stronger each day. Then, Richard hired Carla Monroe as his personal assistant. Carla was striking, with long, dark hair and a confident demeanor that caught everyone's attention. She was smart and efficient, seeming to connect with Richard in ways Amanda felt she no longer could. It didn't take long for Amanda to become suspicious of Carla. One night, determined to address her growing concerns, Amanda set up a candlelit dinner to try to reconnect with Richard and share her fears. At dinner, Amanda opened up about her feelings and worries. Richard listened but quickly dismissed her concerns, insisting his distant behavior was only due to work pressure. He reassured her there was nothing to worry about, but Richard's company was sponsoring a charity event, and Carla, unaware of Amanda's suspicions, agreed to meet at a trendy cafe downtown. The cafe had a warm, cozy atmosphere with soft lights and comfortable seating. Amanda got there early and picked a quiet corner table for their private conversation. Carla arrived shortly after, looking confident and composed. As Carla walked over, Amanda felt both upset and curious. Carla warmly complimented the cafe's ambiance. Amanda managed to respond politely, then quickly shifted the discussion toward Richard, mentioning his frequent late hours at work and inquiring about his workload. Carla mentioned that Richard was extremely committed to his work, noting that his current cases demanded much of his time. Leaning closer, Amanda, in a soft voice, confessed to Carla that she knew about the affair. Carla looked shocked and began to respond, but Amanda interrupted, explaining she was there not to blame, but to understand. Carla, visibly moved and with tears in her eyes, shared that the affair began when Richard was struggling at work. They had started spending more time together, and things escalated from there. As Carla spoke, Amanda found herself feeling unexpectedly empathetic. recognizing the pain in Carla's expression as a mirror of her own. By the end of their talk, what began as an awkward meeting had turned into a surprising connection. Amanda was drawn to Carla's intelligence and charisma, and Carla appreciated Amanda's compassion and understanding. They started meeting secretly, growing closer over time. One evening, Carla invited Amanda over to her apartment to go. Richard motioned for Amanda to sit, his voice cold and flat, heart racing. Amanda sat down, attempting to speak, but Richard interrupted her, slamming a folder full of photos onto the desk. He bluntly stated that he knew about her and Carla, revealing the photos as evidence. Amanda gasped in shock as she looked at the pictures that clearly showed her with Carla. She tried to explain, pleading with Richard for a chance to speak, but he was furious. In a sudden rage, he attacked Amanda, gripping her throat tightly. Amanda fought back desperately but couldn't break free from his strong grasp. Her vision began to fade, and soon she was motionless. Richard stood over her, overwhelmed by a mix of anger and confusion. Realizing the gravity of what he had done, Richard quickly tried to cover up the incident. He made the office look like it had been robbed, scattering papers and overturning items before leaving hastily. His next stop was Carla's apartment, fueled by his escalating anger. Carla was shocked to see Richard in such a state when she opened the door. She trembled as he barged in, accusing her of destroying his family and corrupting Amanda. Carla tried to retreat, pleading with Richard to calm down and listen, but he was too far gone. In a swift move to defend herself, Carla dodged Richard's attack, grabbed a nearby vase, and struck him on the head. Dazed, Richard staggered, giving Carla the chance to escape. She ran out into the rainy night, terrified, heading for the outskirts of the city. Exhausted and scared, Carla eventually found an abandoned cabin on the edge of town and hid there, shivering and in shock. Meanwhile, their son Ethan was left to face a future without his mother and possibly without his father, too, given the night's tragic events. Richard, desperate to avoid suspicion, reported Amanda as missing and crafted an alibi. Yet, the police quickly noticed gaps in his story. When Amanda's body was found in his office, the forensic evidence combined with Richard's inconsistent actions pointed towards his involvement. He was arrested, tried, and eventually convicted of murder, receiving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Carla, on the other hand, disappeared without leaving any clues. Her abandoned car was later found at a remote rest stop, far from Belleville. While there were whispers she might have fled overseas, no solid evidence ever confirmed her whereabouts. Many believe she assumed a new identity to start afresh, her sudden disappearance remaining a mystery to all. Carla's early life had been marred by strict religious expectations and hidden violence. Escaping was more than just fleeing from immediate danger. It was her chance at finally breaking free from years of control and fear. She was well aware of the severe consequences if her past ever caught up with her, prompting her to erase her old life completely. After the tragic loss of his parents, Ethan was taken in by Amanda's sister Lydia, who offered him a nurturing home. The house that once echoed with the joy of his family now stood quiet, a somber monument to the sorrow that had befallen them. Lydia endeavored to provide Ethan with a normal upbringing, yet the dark history of his parents cast a long shadow over his childhood. Lydia often pondered the man Ethan would become, given the heavy burden of his family's past. Meanwhile, Carla knew she had to make a clean break from Belleville to survive. With some savings, she bought a bus ticket to a large city, continuously moving and changing her identity, taking up odd jobs to maintain a low profile. Her life became a series of temporary stops. Always alert and cautious, Carla changed her appearance, dyed her hair, and kept to herself, avoiding deep connections to prevent recognition. Whenever she sensed the slightest risk of exposure, she would disappear again, seeking anonymity in new, unassuming places. Carla's life turned into a sequence of short stays and brief moments of peace. She often found herself reminiscing about her days with Amanda, their shared dreams, and the love they had. Eventually, she settled in a small coastal town far from Belleville, where she started working at a local diner, keeping mostly to herself. The town was serene, and its residents were kind, yet mindful of her need for privacy. It was the first time in a long while that Carla felt she could breathe easier. Allowing herself to slightly lower her guard, she rented a humble apartment and attempted to piece her life back together, though the fear of being found lingered persistently. Ethan, now in his teens, carried the heavy legacy of his parents' troubled past. He was a contemplative young man, often seeming distant, Despite Lydia's loving care, Ethan couldn't shake off the local gossip and the judgmental looks that came with being the son of a convicted murderer. School became a battleground, with his peers either shunning him or taunting him about his father's actions. Finding refuge in reading, Ethan spent many hours lost in books at the local library, escaping into worlds unlike his own. Lydia encouraged his intellectual pursuits, hoping they would act as a constructive escape. Ethan began writing, channeling his feelings and memories into his narratives, revealing a knack for storytelling that his teachers commended. Driven by a curiosity about his past, Ethan one day sifted through old family photo albums. He stumbled upon a picture of his parents, happy and in love. Puzzled by how everything had turned so bleak, he resolved to delve into his family history. He scoured old newspapers, talked to acquaintances of his parents, and slowly stitched together their story. Through his research, Ethan learned about the affair between his father and Carla. The revelation was upsetting and perplexing, yet he couldn't help feeling a peculiar bond with Carla. Curious about her fate after the dramatic events, he reached out to Mark Collins, the detective his mother had once hired, hoping to uncover more about her whereabouts. Mark, though now retired, was initially reluctant to revisit the painful past, but was swayed by Ethan's resolve. He opened up to Ethan about the details of his previous investigation, the evidence collected, and the events that had unfolded. Ethan learned about the complex relationship between his mother and Carla, and the tragic circumstances of his mother's death. Mixed emotions surged through Ethan: anger, sorrow, and a compelling desire for closure. He decided to trace Carla's steps, visiting places she had been and speaking to people who had met her. His search eventually led him to the quiet coastal town where Carla had found refuge. Carla was working at the diner when Ethan walked in. She didn't recognize him initially, but upon closer look, a familiar look of sadness in his eyes caught her attention. Ethan introduced himself as Amanda and Richard's son, catching Carla off guard, her emotions a blend of fear and cautious hope. They sat down at a table where Ethan shared his own life story, his challenges, and his quest for understanding. Carla reciprocated by telling him about her flight from Belleville, her life in hiding, and the continuous struggle to start anew. They spent hours exchanging their experiences and memories of Amanda, with Carla confessing her deep affection for Amanda and how their affair had brought both happiness and suffering. Ethan questioned Carla about the night his mother was killed. With evident emotion, Carla described the confrontation with Richard, his explosive anger, and her frantic escape from his wrath. Listening to her, Ethan felt a surge of anger towards his father, but also empathy for Carla's ordeal. Choosing to stay in the coastal town for some time, Ethan and Carla continued to meet. They shared more about Amanda, reminisced, and supported each other's healing process. In Carla's company, Ethan found a sense of connection and understanding that was new to him, providing both of them with some solace and a path forward together. Over time, Ethan and Carla's bond deepened. They supported each other in overcoming their painful past. Ethan found inspiration in Carla's stories and her resilience, fueling his passion for writing. Carla, finding new meaning in her life, helped Ethan navigate his path forward. Years later, Ethan completed his first novel, a narrative woven from the threads of his family's history, fictionalized but deeply personal. The book was well received, earning praise for its emotional depth and narrative strength. Ethan dedicated the novel to his mother, Amanda, and to Carla, acknowledging their profound impact on his understanding of forgiveness and compassion. Carla remained in the coastal town, embracing a life of peace and stability. She kept in close contact with Ethan, visiting him often and taking pride in his success as an author. She felt comforted by the fact that she had helped Ethan find closure and that together they had found a way to move on from the past. The tale of the Everwood family became infamous in Belleville, known as a stark example of how deeply hidden emotions and secrets can affect lives. Amanda's paintings especially became highly sought after, her landscapes viewed as hauntingly beautiful reflections of her turbulent life. Richard's name, once associated with respect, became a byword for downfall and insanity. Decades later, the story of Carla Monroe, the mysterious secretary who vanished, remained one of the town's most enduring mysteries. Her fate continued to intrigue and mystify the residents of Belleville, casting a long shadow over the Everwood saga. Ethan, aware of his heritage, was resolute in his desire to live differently, breaking away from the cycle of deceit and violence that marred his family. The Everwood murders highlighted the delicate nature of human relationships and the destructive power of secrets. The story of the family's rise and fall became a cautionary tale, recounted through generations as a grim chapter in Belleville's history. Ethan kept writing, exploring themes of love, betrayal, and redemption in his works. His stories, influenced by his own experiences and the lessons he learned from Carla, resonated with readers, offering insights into the complexity of human emotions and the possibility of healing and forgiveness. The Everwood Saga reminds us of the thin line between love and loss and the profound strength required for forgiveness. This story not only unveils the tragic unraveling of a family, but also illuminates the resilience of the human spirit to seek truth and healing. Through the heartbreak of betrayal and the complexities of emotional bonds, the Everwood family's journey underscores the possibility of renewal and redemption from the ashes of despair. Thank you for tuning into today's exploration of the enduring human spirit. Make sure to subscribe to catch more compelling narratives that delve deep into the complexities of human relationships. If this story resonated with you, leave a comment, hit the like button, and share it with your friends. Your engagement supports our mission to share more profound and insightful stories. Stay curious, stay empathetic, and join us next time for another deep dive into the human experience.